Hello, welcome to Horseshoe Politics. Today is September 6th, 2020. You may have noticed just now I said horseshoe politics and not horse race politics. Well, there's a reason for that. I just decided today that I would change my channel name from horse race politics to horseshoe politics. And the reason why I made that decision was because I thought that horseshoe politics had a lot nicer of a ring to it than horse race politics. Like, whenever I'm telling someone what my channel name is, it's a lot easier for them to remember horseshoe politics and horse race politics. I don't know, the way I see it, and I've talked to a couple of others about it, horseshoe politics just has a lot nicer. It goes off the tongue a lot nicer. Most people agree with that. But now that that's out of the way, now that my channel name is out of the way, we can now talk about what this video is actually about. Whether or not Kanye West is going to influence the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. Now, before I say anything else, let me just answer this question in one word. No, he's not going to change the outcome of this presidential election. And I'm going to talk about why that's the case throughout this election. Because the reason why I'm even making this video, I can't believe I have to make this video, but the reason why I'm making this video is because I've seen way too many people on both sides, but mainly people who support the Democrats. There's that saying, oh, Kanye West is only running so that he can take away votes from the Democrats and give it to Trump. But I also see a few people who are Republicans, who support the Republicans, who say that, oh, Kanye is only running to take away a few votes from the Republicans and in order to give Biden the victory. Because Kanye West, I think he sides a lot more with the Republicans, it seems, than the Democrats. Like, I think he has personal relations with Trump. I'm not too sure on that. I don't really care that much about what Kanye does, but it seems that he's more in touch with Republican figures than Democrat figures. So yeah, I've seen some people on both sides make the argument that Kanye West is going to give the election to one candidate or the other, but I simply don't think that's the case. I simply don't think Kanye West will get enough votes to have a direct outcome on this election. And the main reason for that is because he's not even registered in over half the states. He's not even on the ballot for most of the swing states. Most of the states that he's on the ballot for, they're not going to, he's not going to change the outcome in those states. Because remember, the presidential election, it's not like a national vote, it's more of a conglomeration of state votes, more of a combination of different state votes. The way the US presidential election system works in the US, it's not a matter of who just gets the most number of votes. It's a matter of who can win the right amount of states so that their electoral college votes, that number gets above 270, which is a majority. So it's a matter of looking at each state and seeing which candidate is more likely to win each state than looking at national population as a whole. That's why you have to look at the specific states that Kanye West is running in and see if those states are close between Trump and Biden. Only if Trump and Biden are really close in a state, then Kanye would maybe have a slight impact on the race. But even then, Kanye West, there were a couple polls that actually included him. He's not a serious candidate at all. I don't know why people are talking about it as if he's like running seriously. I honestly thought this was a giant meme until people actually started writing serious articles about his presidential run. But his whole presidential run is basically just a giant meme. I wish more people would understand that he's not going to seriously change the outcome of this election. But anyway, let's look into his policy proposals, because why not? And then we'll look into which states he's running and why that matters, or why that won't make a difference on the outcome of this election. So I'm on his Wikipedia page right now for the 2020 presidential election campaign. It says that he's in support of a consistent life ethic, a tenet of Christian democracy, and he opposes abortion and capital punishment. So most of that sounds like things that conservatives would more support than liberals, except the last part, the part about being opposed to capital punishment. That's more of a liberal policy, but the other things that are stated there, those are more conservative stances on the issues. Now let me read the sentence that comes right before that on the Wikipedia page. West's platform advocated for the creation of a culture of life, endorsing environmental stewardship, supporting the arts, buttressing faith-based organizations, restoring school prayer, and providing for a strong national defense. So all those different positions, those in general are things conservatives would be more in support of than liberals. What I've noticed about his campaign is that he puts a lot of emphasis on his religion, on Christianity. So I feel like that would definitely appeal more to the conservative population of the US than the liberal population. But there also are a lot of religious liberals that this might appeal to. So in that aspect, you could say it could go either way. But I would say, yeah, his policies definitely more have lean conservative than liberal. But now that we've gotten his basic positions out of the way, I think now we can talk about like which states he's actually on the ballot for. West has only qualified for 11 states that are like confirmed. So only 11 states he's actually on the ballot for. Mississippi, as of now, they're still waiting for a decision. And he's apparently suing for access in a few states, but I don't think that's going to turn out well for him. Uh, he's already lost the case on Arizona and Virginia. And then every other state he's not able to get on the ballot for. So yeah, it doesn't seem like his campaign's getting too far. Now, let me look at the exact states that he's actually on the ballot for. Okay, I'm at the ballot access section of the Wikipedia page now, and it lists the exact states that he's on the ballot for. So it's only 11 states. It's only 78 electoral votes where he has a guaranteed chance of being able to compete for. Every other state, it's up in the air or he's been flat out denied already by now. So let's look at these 11 states that in total add up to only 78 votes. That's less than a third of what he needs to win the presidential election, which is 270. So let's look through this. Arkansas, that's definitely leaning Republican. Kanye's not making a difference. Colorado, that leans Joe Biden's favor by several points. If even if Kanye West gets like 5% of the vote, and all 5%, you have to keep in mind he's going to take away votes from both sides. Like everyone's talking about how only Joe Biden supporters would support Kanye, but if you look at Kanye, he supports Republicans more than Democrats. So I would think that he would take away at least a few Republicans also. Usually the argument is that, oh, Trump's base is more committed to him than Biden's base. Well, the thing about that argument is that not every single person who's considering voting for Trump, not everyone's that attached to him. A few people who are considering voting for Trump may vote for Kanye now because they see, oh, he emphasizes religion in his campaign. He's in contact with Republicans. He's more on the Republican side, and maybe they just aren't a fan of Trump for whatever reason. Maybe the way he handled the pandemic, whatever. And maybe they're looking towards Kanye because they also don't like the Democrats and they don't want a Democrat in power because they think that they won't be good for the country. So they look towards Kanye. What I'm trying to say is that you can't just look at it as if only one side of the political aisle is going to vote for Kanye. You have to understand that people from both sides, a few people from both sides, are going to go towards Kanye because they don't think either candidate is as good as Kanye. But here's the thing, that's also a very, very small percent of the population that's actually going to cast a vote for Kanye. He's a meme candidate. He's not serious at all. This is a complete joke. Almost everybody realizes that there's going to be a few people who don't care who wins this election. They're just going to vote for Kanye. Either they don't care who wins or they hate both candidates and they're just going to vote for Kanye as a meme. But basically everybody knows he's not a serious candidate. He's running as a meme. At least they know that like deep inside, but they still talk like as if he's has a serious chance or he's a serious candidate. He's not a serious candidate. His policy platform is obviously not serious. If you looked at that rally that he did in person once, he's not at all a serious candidate. So he's not going to win the presidency, that's obvious. He knows that he's not going to win the presidency. This is all a giant meme. I wish more people would understand that. But let's go back to analyzing the states that he's on the ballot for. Colorado, I said it leans in Joe Biden's favor for several points. Kanye is not going to impact that. Even if he takes away 5% of the vote, and that's all people who would have voted for Biden, Biden will still win Colorado most likely. Idaho is heavily in Trump's favor, no questions there. Iowa, Iowa's kind of interesting because Iowa used to be in Trump's column by several points, but it's kind of shifted towards the right. But even if Kanye does influence Iowa, if I don't think that's going to happen, but even if he does, even if he makes it so that Trump wins Iowa or Biden wins Iowa, the thing is that both candidates still have a way to win the presidential election without Iowa. And right now, Iowa still leads in Trump's column by a couple points. So I think that's going to stay that way. Biden can still easily win this election without Iowa. So I don't think Iowa will really make a difference. Kentucky, heavily in Trump's favor. Same with Louisiana. Both of those aren't going to be influenced by Kanye. Minnesota is actually something that a state that a lot of people have been talking about. Is Kanye going to influence the election there? That's actually the best possible argument they have for Kanye influencing the election. But even then, like I've talked about, he's a meme candidate. He's not serious. He's not going to get more than 1 or 2% of the entire votes. Even in Minnesota, which has a history of voting for third party candidates like Jesse Ventura, I don't think he's going to get more than 2 or 3%. People realize how serious this election is on both sides. People on both sides will agree that this is one of the most important elections of our era. They're not going to waste their votes on some third party candidate unless they're really that disenfranchised and just want to throw their vote away as like a protest or whatever. Minnesota, but here's the thing, Minnesota has 10 electoral votes. Yeah, that has some potential to influence the election, but not much. Oklahoma heavily in Trump's column, same with Tennessee and Utah. Vermont heavily leans Joe Biden. So the only states that are like remotely swing states are Iowa and Minnesota that he's guaranteed to be on the ballot for. Mississippi, it doesn't matter whether or not he gets on that ballot because that's going to be in Trump's column no matter what. And there's 3 other states where he's trying to sue to get on the ballot for: Wisconsin, Ohio, and Virginia. Virginia's going to go for Biden regardless. Ohio's probably going to go for Trump regardless. Same with Iowa. Here's the thing about Ohio and Iowa. Yes, Biden has moved several points on Trump in those 2 states, but I still think Trump's going to win those 2 states. Last time they both voted for Trump by over 8 percentage points. I don't think Biden has moved that far enough into those states to where he can win those states. So I think Kanye is not going to influence the election much there, because even if Kanye gets a few votes from both sides, then the margin between the 2 candidates will still be the same. So Ohio and Iowa, they will both still go for Trump. Every other state out of the question, he's not on the ballot for. So yeah, Kanye West will not. It's really unlikely that Kanye has any influence on this election. The only states that he could potentially influence are Iowa, Ohio, Minnesota. But people don't understand. People from both sides might vote for him. It's not just only Trump supporters or only Biden supporters. It's both sides that might go towards him. It's not just one side. That's the biggest reason why I think that even in the swing states, Kanye is not going to have any substantial impact on the election. The only way Kanye would decide the election is if it was like a Bush v. Gore case in 2000, where Bush was beating Gore by 537 votes. When you have a margin that small, then and only then can someone like Kanye influence the outcome of the election. But that's really unlikely. The 2000 election was an extraordinarily unlikely scenario where you have a margin that small where that decides the election. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Kanye will decide the election in any meaningful way. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, now that I've gotten the rant portion of this episode out of the way, let's just look at his policies now and see what he's all about. I don't have much time left in this episode because I haven't verified this account yet. I don't know if I'll get around to it. My time limit's 15 minutes for a YouTube video, so I'm just going to quickly run through his policy positions and see if they're liberal or conservative. Abortion, we've already established he's conservative on that aspect. Weed legalization, he supports legalization of marijuana, that's liberal. Capital punishment, he opposes, that's liberal. Culture of life, I would say that's definitely more conservative, wanting a stronger religious influence in life, that's liberal. What else is there? Oh, express support for illegal immigrants, that's definitely more liberal policy position. He said he wanted to reform the legal system, so I guess that would be more on the liberal side on that aspect. Cut the military budgets. Generally, conservatives want a higher military budget, liberals want a lower one. So he's taking the liberal position on that. School prayer, he supports it in the American education system, so that's conservative. That's the conservative stance on that issue. Okay, I think now this episode is about to end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I can't believe I had to make this episode, but I'm tired of people saying that, oh, Kanye West is only running to give Trump a second term. No, I don't think he's in a position to where he's going to give Trump another term. But anyway, that's it for this episode. See you guys.